Hello and welcome to Palace to the Core podcast and also on YouTube. So if you are watching this on YouTube, please remember to subscribe and like and all that, follow along and everything, all that good stuff. If you are listening to this as a podcast, then obviously you can check it out on your latest podcast platform, and please review and subscribe to whatever platform you're listening to this on. Today I'm going to be talking about the first game of the new season against Chelsea, and it was a little bit difficult, I have to say. It was a difficult game for Palace because I think there was a lot of good players are yet to come into the squad. There are a number of players who are still injured, like Alesi and Eze, obviously. Benteke took a knock, so he didn't come on till later on in the game. So there were things that weren't quite 100% with the team, and I think it was always going to be difficult. First game of the season when you're in that situation coming up against Chelsea, who are, recently won their cup there, the European Cup. They're flying high and they've got some good players, so it was always going to be an uphill struggle for us. But Vieira put out a fairly really decent team. There was Gaeta in goal, Ward, Kouyaté, Guehi, and Mitchell at the back, and you had Ayew and Riedewald and MacArthur and Schlupp in the middle, with Zaha and Matete up front. Well, actually, it was more like a five in the middle of it, Matete up on his own. And one of the things I'm going to be talking about the result, obviously, and the game itself. So if you haven't seen the game yet, or you haven't seen the highlights, go and check those out first, and then come back and listen to what I have to say about the team itself. First thing I'm going to say is that we tried to contain Chelsea as much as we could. I think we really did. We were trying to pass the ball around. We were trying to do the right things and trying to pass into space and do all that kind of stuff that I think Vieira has been trying to teach them to do. But one of the problems were we're a little bit slow to do it, and some of our passes weren't quite reaching the target, which makes it easier for Chelsea then to come along and snatch the ball and create something. And they were penning us back for most of the game, not just in the first half, but in the second half. We had a couple of half chances. Zaha in particular had a chance that he could have put away, I think, if he'd taken it a bit earlier. But it's one of those things. If you're going to get chances against a team like Chelsea, you've got to take them. And unfortunately, we didn't quite manage to do that on yesterday. So up front, we had Mateta, who I didn't really think did that much. I mean, obviously, he wasn't getting a lot of service because we were pegged back quite a lot. But when he did get the ball, he didn't seem to be able to create anything or want to come for the ball or to show for the ball. He wasn't really on 100% yesterday. So that was a bit disappointing, because I think that if he had been on good form and if he had been playing well, it might be a different story. But Zaha was trying, as Zaha always does. He ended up almost at right back at sometimes because of trying to get onto the ball and try and do something with it. And I also noticed Mitchell, who normally he had last season, he had someone just ahead of him trying to support him, like PVA or Schlupp did as well. But Schlupp was in a kind of different role for the game against Chelsea, and so Mitchell didn't have that kind of protection that he's had last season. And I think at times you noticed that he's a young player, he's still learning the game, and he was played really, really well, but he just felt a little bit, to me, he looked a little bit out of pace of the game, and a little bit sometimes made the wrong decisions. But that's going to happen because he's a young player. It's going to happen with the other young players we've got coming in. But they're going to learn from it, and hopefully, as time goes along, we're going to be able to get those results going better our way once we get those players back that we know can perform for us, and hopefully that will make some difference. But for Chelsea, it was, I would say, a fairly decent start to their campaign. I mean, they'll be happy with the result. Didn't really have to work too hard, I don't think, unfortunately. And Alonso on the if I just can find it here. Whereas, Alonso on 27 minutes put them ahead with quite a good goal actually from Alonso. He was, he's always been good at the free kicks, and this was a free kick, went in, and unfortunately went straight into the back of the net. Gaeta did the best he could with it. He managed to parry it away, but I think he got rebounded in, and it was just one of those things that you've got to learn from. And I think that one of the things we're going to have to learn from is defending our set pieces a bit better. A couple of years ago we were almost unbeatable. Roy Hodgson set us up to be almost unbeatable. Last season didn't quite work out. This season, well, this one game anyway, we looked a little bit short at the back, but that's going to get better, I think, and certainly with Gay at the back there, we're going to be doing a lot better, I think, as that eventually. And then that was the way it finished at half time. Actually, no, not. It was just about full half time actually. Pulisic at 40 minutes managed to get a goal as well, 2-0 to them, and you could see that the Crystal Palace players were trying to get to half time at just 1-0 because, you know, Chelsea were starting to get into their rhythm and starting to play the game the way that we know that they can. And we were doing our best, but they were starting to come on more and more towards us. And I say in 40 minutes, Pulisic put them 2-0 up, which was a shame because we had tried to make inroads into their half, but it wasn't really working for us much. And we weren't really containing them, although we were getting men back and trying to defend. We weren't containing them as much as we could have done, really, and should have done. And then you've got Kovacic on 58 minutes. He not Kovacic, Chalobah, Chalobah, I should say, on 58 minutes. He managed to get another goal to make it 3-0 to Chelsea, and that was in the second half. And really, I think, you know, one of the things I like about Vieira is that he does try. I mean, he's brought in Sean Derry to try and get himself used to this club and how they play and things like this and teams. He's doing his best to integrate himself into the club in the best way he can. Unfortunately, you know, we've got a few things going against us at the moment, but he did try. He brought in some substitutes in the second half. He brought Schlupp off and Mateta. Both Schlupp and Mateta came off around 57 minutes in the second half, which Schlupp didn't look too happy about being substituted, and that's really what you want. You don't want a player to be thankful they're being substituted. You want it to be slightly upset, so that's a good thing. And he brought on Joachim Andersen and Christian Benteke. Benteke always had a knock, as I said, so he didn't play the whole game, and he didn't really make a huge amount of difference. I mean, Andersen did his best. Benteke was doing his best to hold the ball up front, but by then I think it was Chelsea had just too much momentum really to make a definite change. And then on 77 minutes, Riedewald came off, and Rak Saki came on, who made his first Premier League first team debut, and it was fantastic. You know, fantastic to see him on the pitch, to see him playing in the first team, and you know, and he's going to take time to bed, and he's going to take time to get used to the Premiership. It's a different kettle of fish, but I'm hoping that he will settle in quickly and will start to make things happen. Him and Zaha and Eze, when he comes back, will start to make things happen, and that will be good if they can. The referee, Jonathan Moss, I don't usually mention referees very much, but in this case I feel that he was giving Chelsea a lot more room than he was giving Crystal Palace. But again, I'm probably biased because I'm a Palace fan, but that's just how it seemed to be for me. And you know, looking at the game, I think there are positives there. You know, social media, there were already people saying that Vieira shouldn't have been manager and all this kind of thing going on. But when you think that we've got I would say around 6 players that would probably make the first team if they were fit or available, not in the team against Chelsea, and that's one of the worst teams you want to meet if you're not full strength. And I think that we did the best that we possibly could. You know, it was better than the 4-0 result that we got, 4-0 drubbing that we got last season against Chelsea. And there were little hints that we were playing well, passing the ball well, getting the ball forward, and Zaha was trying his best to create something. So I think overall it was a good learning curve for a lot of players, and it's obviously good because they've got this new system that Vieira's trying to install into them, and we've got new players coming in. It's going to be difficult. I'm not imagining us to be really doing anything major for a couple of months. I think it's going to be a couple of months of really trying to dig deep and get the players the best way that we can, get the results the best way we can. But I think once Eze comes back and, you know, we start seeing the other players coming in and making a difference, I think it will make a difference, and I'm hoping that's going to be the case. But I want to know what you think. If you believe that this was a result that was inevitable given the situation, let me know in the comments, either on YouTube or on Podcaster or wherever you listen to your podcast, and let me know what you think. Do you think this was an inevitable result? Do you think that we are in a bad situation? Do you think we're in trouble in terms of staying in the Premiership? Or do you think that this is just one of those things that we're going to need to suck up and work on during the season? I'd love to hear your views, and as I said before, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And I'm going to be doing one of these for every game that I review. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, again, same thing. Please do review and follow along on wherever you are on your podcast platforms. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the game, even though we lost. And onwards and upwards to the next game. So until then, CIYP.